Joe Hamer. We're both attorneys with the law firm of McCullers, Whitaker, and Hamer. We're here today for Real Estate Closings 101. Our topic today, closing date and time, which doesn't sound like a very important topic, but I would argue it's the most important topic.
It is essential.
So there's a belief among a lot of real estate agents, a lot of lenders, a lot of closing attorneys that you should close your real estate purchase at the end of the month. And I think the belief behind that is there's a line item you pay called interim interest. And that interim interest is interest on the loan through the end of the month. So the theory is if you close on the last day of the month, you only have to pay 1 day of interim interest. And then your first mortgage payment's not due for another month. Okay. And so that reduces in theory, your cash to close, your closing cost. And so for a long, long time, that's been a very popular, hey, let's close on the end of the month. And I say it's very popular because we have our busiest days are the last 2 to 3 days of the month by far. The first day of the month, we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs because no one wants to close on the first day of the month. The theory being you're going to pay interim interest for the whole month. And then, of course, you wait a month and then your first payment. So if you close at the beginning of the month, your first payment's arguably 60 days away. If you close at the end of the month, you pay less interim interest and your payment's 30 days away. But your lender, is busier at the end of the month. Your closing attorney is busier at the end of the month. The courthouse is busier at the end of the month. And so what happens is we get all these people stacked up on the end of the month that want to close, which is fine. We're happy to do it. But funding slower, recording slower, everything in the process is slower because there's more going on. I think a lot of people don't realize if you decide you want to close the first week of the month, your closing is going to go real fast because we're not scheduled really heavy. Your lender's free. The register of deeds is not backed up. So everything kind of moves faster when you schedule your closing earlier in the month. And I try to stress that to everybody. If you have to close on the end of the month because you're moving in your lease, there's certain reasons you have to, and that's fine. But if you have a choice, if I had a choice and I was closing on property, I would pick the beginning of the month. The other thing I would add is earlier in the day is better than late in the day. We have a lot of folks who can't get the day off work, so they want to close at 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Then that's fine too. But when you do that, you got to realize that you're not going to get on record the same day.
Yeah, and another thing, piggybacking on what you said, another thing about the end of the month is the margin of error is so much more thin. So if there's anything that goes wrong,
that's true.
A lot of times we're going to end up double booked for the entirety of the day. And if you have a problem with a walkthrough, if you have any kind of last minute issue with your lender, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to move to later in the day just due to logistical concerns.
So less flexibility.
So there's way less flexibility as opposed to the beginning of the month is it's easy. We can work with you. Touching on timing as well, always try to, the earlier the better. The earlier you can schedule your closing in the day, the better, because it gives us more time to fund you, to record, to take care of all the things we need to do post-closing to allow you to get your keys and to get into the house. So always we will encourage you, the sooner the better in the day. Now, we can accommodate closings later in the day. As a general rule, we'll tell folks, the latest that we can close you and pretty much guarantee recording is going to be in that 2:30 to 3 o'clock window. Now, that being said, we've done 3:30, 4 o'clock closings where we're able to get it done. We're able to rush it through. We're able to get you on record by the 4:30 cutoff that we have for most counties.
Right. But
it's a lot more stress. It's a lot more struggle. And it's always going to be safer for you to take care of that as early in the day as possible. So we just encourage you, don't try to schedule at the end of the month. Schedule it earlier in the month if at all possible. And always try to get that on the schedule earlier in the day. A lot of it may not be possible, especially if you're closing at the end of the month, because we're going to have to spread those appointments out. But that should always be your goal, just to allow for the maximum amount of time to get everything squared away after closing.
And I would add to that too. I think that's a good summary. Our firm has 6 or 7 attorneys ready to do closings all day long in 4 or 5 offices. So we have a lot of times and we have a lot of flexibility other firms don't have the luxury of having, and it's still tough.
Yes,
logistically. So I think that's good advice. I hope that was helpful.